And we are live. Welcome to Pistons Jack Fan Reacts. Today we are recording after the Pistons' third consecutive loss. Tonight they fall to the Magic by 10 points on the road without Cade Cunningham. And it was probably 10 points makes it look a lot nicer than it was. It was over 15 and around 20 points for much of the second half when the Magic were playing their starters. I'm going to bring my friend Alan up here in just a moment, and we're going to talk through the game and some other things. But before I do, uh, if you want to come up, I have Alan scheduled to come up in just a moment, and then I have another guest scheduled. So you can come up here and chat in probably around, I'm going to try to keep it to 20 minutes per person just so we can get more people up. So if you want to come up, send me a DM now and I will send you a link and we'll get you up here to chat through the game. But I'm going to bring up Alan now. Alan, how are we feeling? I think you might be on mute, or is my... Can you hear me okay? I can't seem to hear you. Let me just check my audio for a second. Yeah, I can't hear. This is strange.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, gotcha.
All right, cool. How you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I'm good to. I'm excited to chat with you, but
You're good.
that,
That makes one of us.
that was a yeah, pretty. The second half, I think, was pretty hard to watch. I think it's putting it nicely, but I'll turn it to you. I've got some talking points here, but just initial thoughts after the game. Third straight
Um,
loss for the Pistons.
my initial thoughts are, if it hasn't been clear previously that we need a backup point guard, then this game has highlighted that. If it hasn't been clear previously that we need a true big, then this game highlights it. So those are my two big takeaways, and I hope Trajan's watching that game and thinking I need to make some changes, because if we're going to try and compete from where we are in terms of the ladder right now, we need to
Yeah.
make these adjustments because they're huge holes, and teams have figured it out already. And
I think it's a great point because particularly the backup point guard position, that's been something that people have discussed all off season. But I think you saw it needs to be addressed tonight. But I think the reason it needs to be addressed, no matter what the intentions are for the season, is because you simply just if Cade's going to miss games, he's already missed one tonight, he might miss another few, and he'll probably miss more later in the season. And I just honestly, I think it's really tough developmentally wise for these other guys when you just don't have a true point guard out there. Like it's even if you want to say, well, we don't want to compete for the play in, we want to go back to the draft. That if that's the intention, that's fine. But I still think you need more ball handling. Like it's the Magic are great defensively, but what did they get to tonight? 90 points. They got to 100 points in the end. But anyway, it's a great point by you. It
and
was severely close.
Jaden Ivey's not your backup point guard. I'm sorry, that may hurt some people's feelings, but he's not your backup point guard. And if you had him, let's just say Cade got injured, and you had Jaden Ivey for a bigger stretch of games as your backup point guard, you're not utilizing Duran properly. You're not utilizing half your team on that court properly if you've just got him out there and setting plays up and yeah, it just doesn't work. It looked awful. That was last season. What tonight's game looked like is
Yeah.
just everyone's lost,
Yeah.
because you don't have the commander on the court that you need. And we were just severely outsized. Um,
Yeah,
and
that was my first point, lack of size.
it was so clear. And JB, to me, this was his worst coaching game of the season. And
Really?
yeah, and I say that because of the third quarter, because you went back and for a long stretch of the game, you had your starters in there who were not gelling. They just weren't doing anything for you. You know what I mean? And some people will say, "Oh, but it didn't matter. Even if we had a bench, the bench were playing better. We didn't score when we had the starters on. When we got the bench on, we actually made some progression in terms of getting the score back, in that third. And I want to say as well, shout out to Stu, because Stu's definitely the player of the game for our team today, man.
And I think that says quite a bit because he had some horrible
Does.
turnovers. But
Yeah.
yeah, defensively he set a tone. Um, and you mentioned this to me during the game, just in our DMs. I thought Fontecchio should have played more. Um,
Yeah.
I said, like
100%.
Tim Hardaway Jr., like, it's 3 games now. He did hit a three, but he's just not the same, and that's
No.
okay. But I think this is
Yeah.
where I actually am a little bit in agreement with you about the JB thing. Like Tim Hardaway Jr. still played 27 minutes tonight, and I
Crazy.
think I know you just don't want to strip him completely of his role because he's had 3 bad games when he was awesome before. But I
Yeah.
thought Tech's been better of late, and maybe you could have got him some more burn. But I think I like how he brought up the lack of size, and
Yeah.
I think Asar will help address some of that. But and for those that didn't watch, Asar didn't play any minutes tonight, although he's available. I think Asar will help address some of that. But yeah, you look at the Magic, and there's a reason I think they're the number one defense, if not top
They're
two.
so
But
good.
like they are so good. And to be honest, I am not surprised this game went the way it did, as disappointing as it is. But they are just so good defensively. Like they,
They are.
they just make you feel like there's an extra guy on the court with their length. Their hands are everywhere. You think you got a layup, and then how many times is it Goga
Oh,
Bertazze? Just fly out of nowhere, block it. Jonathan
yeah.
Isaac, fly out of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. You just see the difference in roster construction there.
Absolutely. And we are not going to beat a team like that until we make the changes ourselves. We are going to beat these particular teams that they're not maybe the same size as us, or with plagued with injuries. But if we play teams where a bit more complete of a roster like Magic, we are not winning right now. And I mean, especially without Kate, there's just I don't see it happening. We need someone who can command the offense out there. We
Yeah,
need it so bad. And I'd like to see more minutes out of Moore, because that guy's effort is just incredible. And like, he's everywhere. He's rebounding. He can shoot. He can shoot the three, no problem. He can shoot the mid range, no problem. He defends hard. He rebounds. Why isn't he getting more minutes? Like, he's proving every game that he is. We've got
yeah,
people who are like playing good games, having bad games. Moore's good every game
yeah.
that he's
No,
getting
I
minutes.
feel you. And this is something. So Cody just messaging. I saw your message just then, Cody. I've got Alan up now, and then another person after. So if you can wait for around 40 minutes, we can get you up here. But Cody and I were talking about this on the last stream in terms of the Pistons. Towards the end of the stream, we're just talking about more zoomed out how the Pistons are really missing that second option or another primary option, if you want to put it, to go alongside Cade. And yeah, like, and on your point about Wendell Moore as well, like tonight, the box, like 7 points, I think he had 2 boards, didn't miss a shot. Honestly, he had one bad turnover, but I'm being nitpicky there.
They all
Yeah,
had bad turnovers.
yeah, no, I'm just bringing it up because I know
Yeah,
some
of
people
course.
are
No, of
talking
course.
about it. But yeah, I've honestly, he's been really good. Like,
I
you
rate
know,
him, bro.
yeah, he surprised me, and I think he had I posted a little clip on Twitter of like he had this awesome defensive possession on France when no one else could stay with France. When they more locked him right up at the top there, and France was incredible. But shout out to
Oh
Wendell
man,
Moore.
for
Like
sure,
shout out
for
to him.
sure. He'd be my second kind of player of the game for us, sneakily, because just in the and I'm saying that because of the minutes of what he was given and what he did. You know, um, I would like to see him coming into a backup spot. I really would, and because it's an effort thing. This is Detroit basketball. It's effort that we like to see. It's what we
Yeah,
want. It's motor and effort. That's what this franchise is built on. So if someone is doing that every game and giving you that effort every game, why not reward them? And
yeah,
and I thought Duran did a pretty good job first half
yeah.
defensively,
I
but
agree.
unfortunately, when you've got Ivy out there leading the offense, you are just not getting any pick and roll action with Duran. It completely nullifies one of his best assets, having Ivy as the ball handler.
Yeah. The thing you can see, Ivy, when he's in the pick and roll, he's just at a stage where he's just trying to figure out how to score. But what happens there, and he's kind of hunting some free throws. But
Yeah,
what happens there is, like you said, he's just not at the stage of his development where he can find Durant on the roll. Not like,
yeah,
and that's obviously one of the many differences between him and Cade and like a
For
true
sure.
point guard. But yeah, it just comes back to what you raised at the start, like lack of playmaking or backup point guard. It's very evident tonight.
Huge, huge. Let's
um,
go get Fultz. Let's go get Fultz, man. Though he's
who
there sitting there.
is there any like I haven't done much research on what he's doing, but what is
Nothing.
he? He's not injured or anything, is he?
No, no, he's sitting there.
It's interesting because was he starting for the Magic last year? No, 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 I
No,
don't think
no,
so.
you know, I think he was doing a
Yeah,
bench role, but
yeah.
he can command an offense. That's one thing I've seen from him is the consistency is that he knows how to run an offense.
And I think the thing tonight that hurt them, and Ivy got going in the second quarter, which was nice, but the Pistons, and I think this is an overall issue, even when they're healthy, don't really have anyone who can consistently finish at the rim and create good looks. Cade can kind of get good looks, but he's really struggled. Ivy struggles, and then everyone else kind of you're very reliant on hitting outside shots. And
Yeah,
someone like Fultz, I'm not sure what his finishing numbers are, but I know the way he plays, he can get into the paint. He's actually got like a decent floater and little mid-range game that I think, whilst he's not the best shooter, he would really help this team.
yeah, absolutely. Another thing about tonight is that if I was JB, this is just obviously I'm not a coach, I'm not
Yeah.
but just by as like the eye test, I would have played Reed and Duran. I mean, he did for a little bit, but I would have played either Reed and Stu at the same time or Reed and Duran because with the rebounding, we were just so outsized. And
Yeah. What was the numbers in the end? It felt like they got, 54 boards to 41. So that's massive margin. Orlando had
huge.
17 offensive boards.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I would have went big. And it just blew me away because JB being in Cleveland went big a lot of the time. And when you've got a
yeah,
team in a matchup like this and he doesn't, it's I think he was a little obsessed with that starting lineup. I think he believed a lot in them, and that's great. But it wasn't working, and it was clear as day that it
yeah.
wasn't working for a long period of time, and he didn't make the adjustment till it was too late. That's when they went that 7-8, and then it was 11 points,
And then
and
it
that's when
just
I was
spun.
like, "We're out of this game.
Yeah.
It's finished.
I
You
think
left it too long."
and that was the thing. Like I think they did get it to 7 or something. And then they had like back to back turnovers. And that was
Yeah,
like obviously turnovers. I think we've spoken about this every stream. They'd actually been better the past two games, but I think they ended up with 17 tonight, which is just like another byproduct of lack of ball handling. And probably another
yeah,
positive of the night, I thought was Marcus Sasser. I think
for
similar to
sure.
Wendell Moore, neither of those two have had a consistent role, but whenever they've been on the court, I think they've been massive positives.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
Sasser's
Sassy's
obviously a
good.
little bit, yeah, he's obviously undersized and he's going to get exposed defensively sometimes, but
Yeah,
and I'm not saying this to put down Kate or Ivy at all, but Sasser's handle's the best on the team.
was
He
the
has a
best
really
for
good
sure,
handle. And I know he struggles to maybe play make sometimes, but his ball security actually, I value that a lot. And I think you kind of saw that tonight against the Magic when other guys really struggled to get into the paint and do anything without losing it.
for sure, for sure. But the only thing is that I mean, he can create his shot creation for himself is really good, but it's his vision. He doesn't really
Yeah,
see his other teammates out there, and that's why he again is not a true point guard because
no,
he's when he's got the ball, he's looking to make that for himself, and that's fine because you trust him. He can knock it down, and especially in the floater, the mid range game, when he gets to that spot in front of the basket, it's almost it's gold. Um, but yeah, he doesn't have that vision. He doesn't have that passing skill. You know.
yeah. And I think, yeah, he's obviously just a shot first guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna you want him to come in and get points, and he kind of did that tonight. Um, and I think you'll see his true value when he's like him and Cade together on offense normally works pretty well because he just plays off Cade. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. The playmaking is still he's obviously like 24, I think. So I think he's kind of who he is. He can still improve, of course,
Sure.
but um, I'm going to kick it to you. I do have some more questions to ask you more about the long term view of the season with where we're at. But is there any other thoughts from the game?
Uh, I'm I I'm really interested in making a trade. I know people are like relax, but it's for me. It has to happen. You got to make. You have to make. So there's two adjustments you need to make on this team if you want to. If you want to stay where you are on the ladder, we're going to
Yeah.
fall if we don't.
Yeah. And that was the backup point guard and the starting center, or just a true big.
A true center. A true center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The center position is like fascinating for me because I think Stu's the backup. I think no question for this season, obviously, and maybe next. But it's so interesting with Beeble Paul and Jalen Duran. I just can't see anything happening there this season. I really can't. But I'm with you. It's that and the backup point guard position are the two areas. Um, um, so I want to ask you. I can't remember the last time we've chatted, but it feels like it's been a couple of weeks, to be honest. The team is
Definitely.
now, I think they're 7-11. They're probably going to fall down to, they were seventh, but they're probably going to be just on the cusp now of that play-in position, like around 10 or 11.
Yeah.
How are you feeling on the season?
I mean, I feel good, but scout reports are a real thing. Coaches, they
Yeah,
don't just watch teams and not make adjustments. And for us, people don't have to make that many adjustments to really to have the holes in our team become really quite large, and it's you can see that teams are already making small adjustments on us and it hurts us, like what Chicago did with us. For me, I was like, that's what teams are going to start doing. And it's really the liability of the Duran defense is you're going to see that night in and night out. I get in stretch bigs. Whatever
yeah,
team you play with a stretch big, it's going to be something that we're going to see, and it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a kryptonite for this team. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's really tough. Like I'm trying to be as positive as I can, but they've just had an 0-3 week. I mean, tonight, honestly, even if Cab was playing, I know I messaged you yesterday saying, I got a feeling they'll win, but I think I was just trying to tell myself that. I think honestly, at the start of the week, I didn't expect a win in Orlando today, but I think that Charlotte loss is what really hurts once
Oh,
again. That's the one you have to win because they had plenty of injuries that game.
yeah.
Like they did, honestly, the first time we played them. So that's the one that really hurts. The Bulls one, it does too. So they now play though Toronto in 2 days' time back at home.
Winnable. Winnable.
I think I honestly, if Cade's not back, it honestly doesn't matter who the Pistons have. To be honest, like if Asar doesn't play, I still think you just have to win that game, just for morale and everything.
I'm switching out Holland for Asar as ASAP, as soon as possible,
Mm,
because
yeah,
today, man, it just showed rookie mistakes throughout the entire game. And
yeah,
I don't mind him taking those 3-point shots, man. Like they're so close, like they're in and out. It's not that bad, but like there was a lot of silly mistakes,
yeah,
and like going to try and dunk from the free throw line, like chill, bro. Like you don't need to do that, over their
yeah,
center as well. Um, but I want Asar to just heat up, give him Ron Holland's minutes, get Ron Holland to watch, and then just bring him in and out. Just
yeah,
mix the two in and out, and so we've got that defensive presence. Because Holland defensively tonight was still good.
yeah,
It's his offense was just horrible.
yeah. It's the I think he had 3 turnovers tonight. It's just the decision making with him. Like his handle needs to get better and that kind of thing. But in the immediate future, like for him, it's just figuring out the right spots to attack and when to give the ball up. I know it sounds basic, but I think that would help him so much. And I think he's been better at that at times. But tonight, yeah, I think he got picked twice, just bring it down the court. Like you mentioned that dunk from the free throw line.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you can't fault his energy, but just
Oh,
some
for
of the
sure.
decisions, like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's all been brought to his attention, but yeah. Uh, can I ask you about, you brought up Asar then. When you saw that he was active, did you think he would play?
I was hoping he was going to play.
Yeah.
But honestly, the way I see the JB does these lineups, no, I didn't think he was going to play.
Do you think like obviously we're just guessing here, but what about Monday against
Oh,
Raptors.
if I'm JB, I'm playing him. Yeah, like
Yeah.
especially after tonight, like
Yeah.
you've got to make adjustments. You can't just keep rolling with this, and just
Yeah.
accepting it. You have to make the adjustments. I want to see Moore get more minutes. I want to
Yeah.
see if Cade's still out, Sasa, please get more minutes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though again we said the passing was a problem, the offense worked better when Sasa was in and Ivy was not handling that ball.
Yeah.
They had them on together, and that worked. I liked when they were on together actually.
Yeah.
Um, it's just Orlando was so big, even almost at the guard position. Like very
Yeah.
hard to guard. Especially on these perimeter. All of them can shoot.
Yeah. I know.
So
I mean, I
and
think that in the end they only scored 109, but I feel like they're at 100 towards the start of the fourth quarter.
oh yeah, yeah, and look, so I saw something today, and I thought I'd bring it up because there was a mock draft that went out. I don't know if you saw it for the Pistons.
Cody will like this in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just gonna try and find it here. Sorry. Um, it's yeah, here we go. Okay, so Cody is gonna like this. Okay. So it's a blockbuster three-team mock trade. Pistons receive Brandon Ingram. You like that, Cody, don't you?
Oh yeah, he
Dave
was just talking about that.
Deron, we received Deron Sharp as well. Okay.
From the
Now,
Nets?
yes, now Brooklyn
Yeah.
receive Tim Hardaway, Jalen Duran, and 2027 first round Milwaukee, and a 2027 second round Brooklyn Dallas pick. There's a third team, New Orleans. So New Orleans get Nick Claxton, Paul Reed, Shake Milton, 2028 first round Detroit, and 2030 first round top eight Detroit. It's obviously a bit of a bad one for us because we lose two bigs, but we've got Deron Sharp and Stu, I guess,
And you get Ingram as well.
and you get
Yeah.
Ingram.
So you just can't, the two first rounders. But
You lose
I
a
mean
couple
that's
picks.
yeah. But in terms of players who went out then, just Duran
Duran,
and
Hardaway Jr., and Paul Reed.
okay.
What do you
Oh,
reckon, Cody? He says yes.
I mean oh, this is I mean, if you're keeping Ivy, you're keeping Asar, you're keeping
Yeah. Okay.
because for me, like I still think with Ivy, like and Asar, like I'm still high on those guys, even if Ivy doesn't get to a first or second option. Like I think like just his talent and the like it's tricky.
Look, I actually like the trade with the players, but I
Yeah,
the things that I don't like are the picks, losing the
yeah.
picks.
That's
Um,
two, especially. If you had a said
yeah,
one, I'd be more inclined because the players going out, I think that's fine. But look, that's a great discussion. Well, I think two picks scares me, just with Ingram's health
yeah,
and what you're gonna have to pay him. Honestly, like I think I would be a no, but it's I think it's closer than maybe
it's
people want
close.
to think. Yeah,
I like Sharp. I really like Deron Sharp, man.
yeah. Is he in their rotation? Oh, he's probably not actually. I've watched a bit of
Um,
him though. Yeah,
but I think it was last season. He had a good season.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
so were
believe
you a yes
that.
or a no on the trade?
Oh, look, if it was one pick, yes. If two, no, no.
Okay. Um, last thing I want to ask you before I get Austin up here is um any updates on the Motor City Cruise for us? Because you're kind of my go-to person.
I mean, they had a recent game that wasn't too nice.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, they're 4-1. They're doing really, really well. But I'll ask you the question. We saw a little bit of Alondis Williams at the end there, and
yeah,
look, I want to say something about him. He is NBA ready. The guy can stretch. He's got the
yeah,
speed of Jaden Ivey. Defensively, he's not too bad. He actually can get up a block. He actually can get in the passing lanes and stuff like that. Like Swider aside, I would actually be like, I'd sign Alondis Williams. Like if I was a scout from any, I'm not talking Detroit. I'm talking any
yeah,
other team.
yeah,
I would sign him because he's really good. But yeah, Motor City Cruise have been real fun to watch, man. We've got some really good players down there. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if we got teams calling them up. call
calling
him
our
up this
players up.
season. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we got to see Swider for about 2 minutes tonight. Alondas, I
Missed the
think, had.
shot.
I know it actually looked pretty clean. It was a
Yeah,
tough
look
shot,
good.
like a fadeaway. And
Yeah.
then Alondas, I think, had a 3 and then a bucket right at the end. So cool to see them get some minutes for sure.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
I want to just if we're these next couple of games, please can we just not start Tim Hardaway and maybe put Tech in there and let's give more minutes to Moore because until he tells us otherwise, why should we not be giving him extra minutes?
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you, bro.
Hopefully get you back ASAP. Love it all. Thank you for your passion. Love having my Aussie bro up here. So we'll get you back up soon for sure whenever you have the time. But thank you for
Appreciate
jumping
it.
on.
Appreciate it. And I'll be in the comments and cheers again. And hopefully we next week, 2 days, sorry, we have a better conversation or there's more things to be happy about because there are not too many things this today.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate your support as always. You have a good
Cheers, bro.
afternoon.
Thanks,
All right,
mate.
bye.
Catch you. Bye.
All right. Austin, what's going on, my man?
How's it going, man?
Not bad. Not bad. How are you?
Oh, it's been rough. These last 3 games, it's been the exact same game. You're watching the same game. They start down by 10, they claw back, turnovers, allow the other team to go on a 10-point run, and then you're down by 10 again. And it's just kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't know. I'd like to see some adjustments to that. But I don't know where you start. I think personally, one of the big things for me is just their transition offense. Sometimes it's really, really good, and other times they just make terrible decisions. Wendell Moore had one today where he drove into 3 people, turned the ball over. Yeah. I think, honestly, one of my biggest pet peeves with this team, with one player in particular, is Jalen Duren getting a rebound and then thinking he's Magic Johnson and pushing the floor. I think it happens once a game. Yeah. Pushes the floor, turns it over, and it just kind of is a momentum killer. So that's what I'm coming in with.
No, I think it's a great point. The transition offense at times, I don't think we've spoken about at all on here, but there's been some really puzzling times where they get the ball and they'll turn it over though, even before they get across half court. Like or there's just been some real tunnel vision, I think, at times from players in transition, missing guys in the corner or just making things harder than it has to be sometimes. So I don't think we've discussed that at all, but I think it's a great point from you for sure.
Yeah, I think there was one play today. It was a 3-on-2 fast break. Jaden Ivey was running down the left wing. Duren was lagging behind, where if he sprints, he probably gets an open dunk. But again, Ivey cuts inside right to the middle. I mean, he kicks it to the corner. I don't remember if they made the 3 or not, but that's just one of those situations where Ivey, not being a point guard, he's a scorer.
Yeah.
So he's not looking to bring that defender out and get Duren open. So,
yeah, I think I remember that play, and I don't think they hit the 3 because I was thinking something similar. Yeah.
It's the turnovers, but also I think a big one for me is when they get the ball up the floor, and Malik Beasley does this a lot, which I don't mind as much because he hits it, but when they shoot the ball with 4 seconds into the shot clock and it's a brick 3, and then all of a sudden you got to get back on defense, like that's just, you're running up and down the court at that point, and that's going to make you more tired, especially somebody like Duren who seems to get tired very easily. It's tough. It's tough to watch when they get in those pitches.
No, I agree, because that's someone like Beasley, you don't mind it, like a shot in the first 5 seconds, but it's a time and situation thing. Like if you're down 8 and you're trying to claw back, that's when those shots, they just hurt. It's like if they're not going down. But if you're ahead by 4 or 5 and you're playing for momentum, then you don't mind it as much. But like you said, to open, it feels like this past week of games, they're always battling back from down 10 or 12, and then they get it. They close it to whatever, couple of buckets, and then the other team just will go on a quick flurry, and it's back out to a double-digit lead.
Yeah, and it's quick too. And then a lot of it comes from bad transition defense. Like I think it was at one point they were down 8. This was in the second half. They come down, nobody picks up Franz Wagner. Tobias Harris is late on a closeout, hits a wide open 3, and it's him and Beasley two veterans that you brought in, and they're not communicating very well. Beasley goes to the corner where Tobias Harris is going, and then you leave the best player open for a three. So it's just little things like that, man. It's like,
yeah,
it adds up.
It does, because I know they were down by 20 in the fourth, but I think they still, like, they're hanging around. Like, they're constantly, like, it's almost frustrating for us to watch because they're constantly keeping it around like 7 to 11 points. And it's like, that's what, and then literally, man, those little things that you're talking about, they just end up becoming too much. And tonight it got out to 20 and it ends up being like 10 points. But in other games, they've got it back and that they're in it to the final minute. And it's, those little things are really glaring this season, which is kind of a positive compared to last year that we're having these discussions, but it doesn't mean it's any less frustrating.
Yeah, it might even be more frustrating this year, honestly, because you're like, you have the ability to win the game. When you look at their record of being 7-11, like the Ron Holland missed free throws at the end of the Milwaukee game, that's a win. Malik Beasley missing at the buzzer against Charlotte, that's a win. The Brandon Miller tipped in against Charlotte, that's a win. So they could easily be 11, 10 and whatever. I'm terrible at math. Whatever it is, they could be 10 and 8. And it's just those little things. And, you know, I don't think I've talked to you. I think the last time I talked was when they got blown out by the Knicks. So kind of go back to some of those games. I mean, that last Charlotte game, oh my goodness. Like, it was just the same thing. You know, Cade's just up there chucking shots and has no help from anyone else. And, you know, that game was kind of the epitome of their entire season. It's a game that comes right down to the end. Malik Beasley, for some reason, has the ball in the corner with like 8 seconds left, and that's your offense for the last possession. Like, so I don't even really know where you go from here. Like, when Cade comes back, obviously it's like, okay, they're still playing decent, but if it comes to the trade deadline and they're, 5 to 6 games under 500, like, what does that look like? Are they still playing like this? Are they playing better? And at that point, do you look for a trade? Do you look to get rid of Duren, or, maybe you try to get rid of Beasley on that 1-year contract to get something better? Like, I like Beasley, and I wouldn't mind if they extended him, but if he's valuable, you get what you can for him. Like,
no, I feel you. It's really interesting. This team's in a very interesting position because I brought this up on the last stream, but Sam Vecini kind of on his podcast Game Theory was saying how the Pistons are anywhere near the play-in, like they're going to go for it, like and that was like his informed opinion. Like, so it's just really interesting because there's like Tim Hardaway Jr. expiring, Malik Beasley expiring, but he's been so good for the culture and the vibes. Like, I kind of don't want them to get rid of him, but what you're saying makes sense because he's been that good. His value is like really high.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and I find myself in a similar position at the end of a lot of these games. Obviously, the losses where I'm like, because it's normally a pretty rough watch and frustrating. Yeah. You're just like, I think they are trending in the right direction. I truly believe that, at least, but you are constantly just trying to figure out, like, is it just going to be like this every game? Was there going to be a point where they sink to the bottom, or are they going to figure it out in the second half? I don't know.
It's just a tough watch because the mistakes that they're making are so, like, they shouldn't be making in the NBA kind of things. Like, it feels like you're watching a JV basketball game sometimes. They're just dribbling into people, throwing the ball away, just breaking shots. Nobody's boxing out. Like, I mean, the amount of offensive rebounds they've given up on this 3-game losing streak is just ridiculous. Like, nobody goes and finds their man. Like, it's just like simple things that, like, I wasn't very good in high school, but I remember, like, just the drills that we had to do were like great. Like, you learn that stuff. And like, that's the kind of stuff that's like, how as an NBA player do you get to that point? And you just, like, I don't know if you've noticed this. A lot of times when the rebound comes off, even if there's like 3 or 4 Pistons in the paint, they're just watching it. Nobody goes after it. They just watch it come down and it hits the floor. And luckily, most of the time they get it, but sometimes they just like watch it and then, oh God, I got to go get that. And then it's an offensive rebound for a score. So there's so many things there's so many things on the with that's just like, man, like you can't really use the excuse of being a young team anymore. I mean, Ivy and Durner in their third year, like Cade's in his fourth. You got veterans on the team. Like it you can't use that excuse anymore. At this point, it's just seems like a lack of effort at times. So I don't know how you can change that either. Like it's just a culture thing. I'm not really sure, but
I think I'm with you there. Like the rebounding, it's weird because on the whole they rebound well, I'm pretty sure, compared to the league. But like when you're watching the games, I'm with you, especially in this last week. I counted in the Charlotte game 5 times that the Hornets got an offensive rebound, kicked it out for a wide open 3. Like it was just, and that game was decided by what in the end? Like it was like that could have been the difference. Like so, the rebounding, it's interesting, but the thing there's lots of frustrating things for sure. I want to ask you this because I'm struggling with it. Like, what are the Pistons doing really well at the moment to stay in these games? Or do you think it's more like the opponents they're playing? I know tonight, like, kind of excuse tonight, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the last 3 games, well, this one, obviously the Magic are a pretty decent team. But the last 2 games, the Bulls, that game was tough because they were just hitting threes, and it seemed like they would get a stop, score, they get it close, and then it's another 3. So that one, the Bulls just couldn't really miss, which I think the Pistons, they weren't playing the greatest, but the Bulls were just on a heater, which sometimes you just run into that. Charlotte, it's really hard to say what they were doing well. I mean, I think, at some points it was just them getting lucky and teams just missing open shots. Like I think that is, like, I saw somebody in the comments said that the perimeter defense has been terrible, which it's been god awful. Like it's so bad. You have a rotation leading to just a wide open 3. And that's happened so many times. And I can't really think of anything that the one thing that they've done well is maybe play Wendell Moore a little bit more. I think I honestly, I think his energy, like I didn't think he was really going to be anything. He's an end of the bench guy. Just kind of the energy and the defense that he brings is just very needed. I mean, I heard you talk about it earlier, like the one possession he had against France today, like really just locked him up. And then I don't remember seeing him guard him again. I mean, he probably did, but there was nothing that. So it's tough to say, especially now with Cade out. It's like there really isn't anything that stands out as like, okay, that's what they're doing well. So it's tough.
I do think like the perimeter defense has sort of dropped off recently, but I do think their team defense as a whole is much improved. I think some of that's they're playing a slower pace, but like I think their team defense is better, and considering the personnel they have and the fact they're missing a star, like I think sometimes the effort is questionable from singular players, but I think on the whole they're doing a pretty decent job on that end. Like I believe that. And then I think on offense, just the fact, I know Tim Hardaway Jr. struggled, but I think they've done a pretty good job of just, they're utilizing their floor spaces and they've been knocking down shots. Malik Beasley's been huge, opening things up, but Cade's also been awesome, but or pretty good, I would say. But it doesn't feel like they have maybe it is just their 3-point shooting. I'm not sure. It sometimes feels like it's a real grind with this team.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you your thoughts. I know Cade didn't play tonight, but like you said earlier, I think the last time we spoke was a few weeks ago at least now. What have you thought about his season overall?
Cade's? That's
yes.
Yeah. I think he's still kind of getting used to playing with this team. I think it's been, obviously the team is so different than the team that he had last year. I think he's taken that next step, but also, there are times like in Charlotte where he was just taking some pretty bad shots. And I think that he starts to feel the pressure in these games of like, okay, I have to be the guy and I have to go make these shots. And, I'm sure that's tough for him because like he knows he's the guy. And really, realistically, this is his 3rd year. Obviously, he missed his whole 2nd year. And honestly, if you really want to say last year, Monty Williams put this team in such a terrible position. Like they didn't really have a lot to learn from last year. So I think that the way he's playing will continue. I think his efficiency will get better. And I think, hopefully, towards the end of the season, he'll start to really take off as like, okay, now I'm learning from the mistakes I made in the beginning of the season. I have a competent coach, competent players around me. Like that's the hope. And now, obviously you can't really count out like he has been, the triple doubles and stuff. Like he's been playing pretty well. It's really just the efficiency side that needs work. So
I agree, especially with the first point you made there about him trying to fight when he forces shots. And I thought he did that against Charlotte, and he still made some plays towards the end to help get that to overtime. But I think that's a much nicer way to put it than when he like me and Cody sometimes say he's chucking shots. But I think it's him. He knows he's the guy. And you can tell, like you said, he feels that pressure to take over. And obviously you want to see him be able to do that. But sometimes like when he does that and the shots aren't falling, I feel like it takes the rest of his teammates out of the game. And I don't think Cade has proven yet, maybe he can get there, that he can be a guy that can take over for a whole second half and win you a game. Like I just don't think we've seen that from him yet. And that's where like I love that point that you make. Like he feels the pressure, but it's like it hasn't gone the way you would like. And that's maybe why they're having some of these fourth quarter collapses and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think it helps either that this team really still doesn't have a second scorer. I mean, the guy you brought in to help, he had 8 points today. Tobias Harris, 8 points. Yeah. I mean, what was his averages? Let me just, I know I'm probably
you're good. Up. He had his best game of the season last game, but he's
averaging 14 points on the year. I mean, that's not horrible, but I think you were probably expecting a little bit more. And then your other player, Jaden Ivey's averaging 18. So, but my problem with Ivey is he's just so inconsistent with it. He can look like the greatest scorer in the world one game, and the next game he comes back and he's having trouble making layups and not getting the foul calls that he sometimes gets. And, I think in those moments when that's happening, I think the Charlotte game, that just doubles the pressure on Cade of like, okay, now I really have to start taking over. Yeah. And because, my running mate is not doing it for me. So, I think that's where kind of like you guys were talking earlier, where the trade comes in of really going to get that, I don't know. I guess my debate would be, do you think they need a secondary scorer more, or do you think they need more interior defense help at the center position?
Long term, I think the priority should be to find someone who can score in the front court. I think because I feel like you can find it's not easy, but it's easier to maybe find a veteran big that can help than finding a true scorer in the front court that can be Cade's second option, or maybe if you win the draft lottery or something, that can be the first option. I think I've said this now. I just feel like that's the biggest thing this team's missing is a consistent 18 to 22 points or more in the front court. And like you said, that's what Tobias was meant to be. But even long term, like he's 32, isn't he? 33. Like it's just a stopgap thing. That's my opinion, at least. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think during the offseason, not that this would have maybe done that exactly, but when the rumors were swirling, I don't know if he was even in the rumors with the Pistons, but I think his name Jalen Smith played for the Pacers. Oh, yeah. He's on their backup. I thought he would have been like a perfect piece for this team. He's a stretch five. He can play defense. He's long. Like I thought that would have been like a pretty solid player to get. But like you said, like backup or like not backup bigs, but just like veteran bigs are kind of a dime a dozen in the NBA nowadays. Like you can go find one. Even somebody like Taj Gibson, like not that he would start, not that.
I know what you're saying.
I feel like having him around last year, even for the little bit of time he was around, did help the team a little bit. And so, like, I think that's one of the other problems is Duren hasn't had that like leader who has kind of been able to teach him, this is how you play the center position. Something has to be done at this point. Somebody tweeted it out today. They said Franz Wagner must have been so happy that there was nobody guarding him that was
that
above
was true.
5. But yeah, okay, yeah, it was him. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, like that's, Tobias isn't a great defender. Like you have to have somebody who can stop a guy like that. And
So I
I
think
wish,
Asar helped some of that, but I am with you. The lack of size has definitely stood out tonight. Yeah.
yeah, and it's so many. They have so many wing players and guard play. Like, at some point, you're gonna have to fill that 4 spot with somebody who can play defense, and the 5 spot somebody who can also play defense. And one of those has to go and get you a bucket. They have to be able to do that, because if it's all on Cade and Ivy, that's not going to work. That's just not going to work in the NBA.
I feel like, and I'm not, they're different. Like, but we saw with like Portland. Like, I know the NBA is a bit different, but they built their whole team around CJ and Dame. And I know Cade's bigger, and there's differences, but like, I just feel like you need that front court scoring for everything you just said. Like,
yeah, that's a really good comparison example, actually. Like, 2 guards who can, where you had a scorer, both scorers, but for their center for the longest time, was it Yusuf Nurkic? That's who they had running in, like
Nurkic, and then they have like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I think they might have had, I don't know who else. Yeah, exactly. So like,
great 2K team. Loved playing with them on 2K.
Exactly right. And it's just, they need that. And I have really high hopes for Asar, and I hope he hits that like absolute peak of his, because it could be extremely good player, but I think it's more likely he's not going to be a first or second option offense. So I think you can have him as your future 3-man, but you still need to find a 4 or 5, like you said. Or maybe you can play Asar at the 4, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's tough because when you play against some of these teams like the Magic or like the Hornets, and you're like, man, if the Pistons could have just gotten lucky in one of these drafts, gotten to draft someone like Paolo Banchero or Brandon Miller, man, that one hurts. That one does hurts.
Yeah. That draft, that's the one that hurts the most. And it's nothing against the Pistons taking Asar, because they were dealt the hand they were in the lottery. But, to fall like they did in 2022 and miss out on Chet or Paolo, and then the next year, though, to fall back again, that was the one where I was like, oh, man. But
I was working when they fell to 5th during that time with the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and man, how do you come back from that one?
It was crazy. I remember thinking it was like, okay, I honestly was like, they're probably not going to get Wemby. That just feels too the fortune. Like, it just, I don't know. But I was like, we're going to get Brandon Miller or at least have a chance at Scoot. And I don't know if Scoot would have worked, but at the time we're all excited about him. But the fact they fell all the way to 5 and we couldn't even get Amen Thompson, it was just like,
because I feel like Amen Thompson would actually help this team out a lot. I think he would. That
ball handling,
yeah. So I don't know. I have a theory that they didn't get it because it's a little rigged, and the NBA didn't like them just tanking like they did. So, hey, who knows? Maybe if they just try to win some games, in that top 7 range, maybe they'll get lucky this year. Who knows?
I hope so. Well, I've got Cody coming up in a moment, but before I let you go, Austin, any other final thoughts on the team overall, just your overall vibes?
They're a tough watch, but it's better than it was last year, and you see the improvement. So that's my biggest thing. Is it's hard to watch, but I'm going to keep watching it, because eventually I think it's going to break through, and that's when it'll be exciting. So
I love it. I'm with you, mate. I'm the exact same. So thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your night, and hopefully we get you back up here soon.
Yeah,
appreciate you joining.
See ya.
All right, man. See ya. What's going on, Cody?
Today's Bailey season, baby.
I had that comment up. Plenty in the chat tonight. I'm sorry. we've had 2 guests up, so I haven't been able to get to it. But how you feeling? I'm actually feeling fine now. I was a bit frustrated after the game, but I feel like it's been an hour now. But thoughts?
You saw every glaring issue with this team show up in one game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Pretty evidently, you saw the need for another ball handler, primary ball handler, somebody who can run the offense. You saw how desperately they need a starting caliber big. You saw how tremendously bad they need a true secondary scoring option because Cade and Ivy are not going to play every game. So you need to have another guy you need to have three guys who can score consistently. And realistically, they only have two. They probably only have one guy who can score consistently because Ivy's consistently inconsistent. So
yeah. I mean, I didn't expect them. Malik Beasley, I think, had nearly 20 points again. But I know you're talking more long term. It's everything's. Yeah, I agree. We've spoken about the lack of size, playmaking, shot creation, and that's why, I was saying to Alan actually when he was messaging me about the game, I kind of feel like this is the first time I felt a little bit like, yes, this loss is on the players and the coach, but I was like, it's a little bit on Trajan as well. It's the first time I've been like, this roster, you kind of set it up to rely heavily on Cade and his playmaking. And obviously Cade's going to miss time. And then tonight, they just don't have a shot without him, especially on the road against a team like the Magic. Like, it's going to be really tough. They need to play perfect to stay in games without Cade.
Yeah, I think that the more and more I watch this team, I think Trajan did this on purpose.
Yeah.
I really think Trajan wanted to see, hey, what do we have in Ivy? Can he do some of this stuff? What do we if it gets to the point where there's injuries that come up, what do we have in Sasser? That kind of stuff. Like what do we have with these other guys? I think Trajan kind of knew that this team, or at least get a feeling with JB, this team could be very competitive on a night out basis, but not addressing the backup point guard might just keep them bad enough to stay where he wants them. So
I agree. I think we spoke about that in one of the earlier streams when they were like 0-4, because it's so glaring that it's like, and there's like with Marco Fultz is the name that comes up.
He's
all
literally
the
sitting
time.
out there. Nobody wants him.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting. Yeah,
he could literally run this team way better than Ivy and Sasser. And we have open roster spots.
We do have the Pistons have an open spot, don't they?
Correct.
Like, fully open, like it's So, it's interesting. I think
it in my mind, I don't, just based on what Trajan did in New Orleans, I do not think that Trajan is blind and he's just like, oh yeah, we're turning it over 18 times a game. A backup point guard would not be the answer for this team. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Can I ask though, do you think not having a backup point guard though hurts the development of some of these guys? Like, puts them in a position that's not really helping them, because that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. I know you've been in the chat, but like we were just saying how, like, yes, they need a backup point guard if they want to win more games. But even my thing is like, is it kind of hurting the development when Cade's not there of these other guys? We're not having a point guard.
I mean, I think it's a good long-term skill for Ivy to improve on.
Yeah.
Being able to navigate the pick and roll and not just look to score out of it.
Yeah.
Being able to run the transition break more effectively. I actually think it helps a guy like Ivy long term, because he's not going to have to. He's obviously, when Cade's here, he's doing it in spots, so it's not as heavy of a workload as it was tonight. And I think those are skills that if you want Ivy to become the best version of himself, he has to be better at that stuff. And Ivy's still not young enough where he can improve on that stuff. He's not 26, so I think overall for a guy like now, does it hurt some of the other, like the vets, because they're not going to get as many open looks and things of that nature? Yeah, but those guys, you know what they are already. Like, you're not hurting Tobias Harris's development. You're not hurting Malik Beasley. You're not hurting. They're all vets, salty vets. You already know what they are. So I think it's very coordinated by Trajan that I think he's looking at, okay, this roster right now, Ivy needs to be the second best player. How can we help? How can we make Ivy improve the fastest overall? Make him handle the ball more, make him make better decisions, that kind of stuff. Like force him into those situations where he's not exactly as comfortable.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And what did you think of his game tonight?
Up and down. I thought he had good moments. Obviously some really bad turnovers. I hate the jump pass he does all the time.
Yeah.
Where he gets in the air and he has no idea what to do. I mean, that's third grade basketball, literally. Like coaches will tell you from the second you start playing competitive basketball, AAU, whatever it is, do not get in the air without a plan. And he does it all the time.
Yeah.
He has no idea what to do when he gets in the air and he's like twisting his body and trying to throw across. Like, you can't do it.
Especially against Orlando, who just got length and size everywhere. They just feast on that.
Exactly. And
yeah,
man, his finishing's been rough lately. Really, really rough. I thought he should have got a few more calls tonight, but even still, he's got to be better at the rim. He has to finish better overall. I mean, he's right around like, I think he's dropped probably right below 50% now at the rim.
Yeah.
Which a guy with his athleticism and speed and burst, you can't. It needs to be higher on a consistent basis. I thought overall, given the role he was trying to play and given the team he was playing against, he was fine. Because to your point, the Magic have size, length, speed, athleticism everywhere. So it's not an easy matchup, but there's obviously stuff you could do better.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't overly frustrated with his game. I thought he was just okay. I thought he was good in the second quarter for stretches and then did some nice things. Obviously, the turnovers stand out, those jump passes, but I'm with you. I thought considering the Magic, like I know Suggs went out at halftime, was it, in the second quarter? So it's not like they're at full strength, but still they're just like Anthony Black, Gary Harris. Like they're just guys everywhere for them. KCP, yeah, like it's
you got a lot of guys who can defend. Their roster construction is really solid.
It's watching them play defense. It's like, wow. I mean, you can see why even without Paolo, they're third in the East, aren't they? They're
third in the East.
Franz is crazy. Like he's ridiculous. You're a Michigan fan, aren't you?
No, Michigan State. Screw Michigan.
Oh, really?
Dude, I almost dropped it.
I know that's bad to ask.
It's middle fingers to the sky to Michigan. I hate those.
I thought you were Michigan for some reason.
Hell to the no.
I don't know. I thought I'd seen you tweeting about Michigan football. I don't know.
No, if you've seen me tweet about Michigan football, it's nothing but hate. I resent them and everything they stand for.
Okay, well maybe we won't talk about France.
Good player. Good player. Really good player. But I hate his guts. And I'm glad he airballed that 3 to win the national championship, or the semifinals, whatever. I think it was the semifinals.
Well, look, I will agree. Respect their games. They're both really good players in their roles in the Franz and Mo Wagner, but they annoy me.
Nobody has a more punchable face in the NBA than Mo Wagner.
Those two, they probably are honestly two of the most annoying opposing players. I don't know why. I just can't. I just every time I want to beat them.
One of the best moments in the Pistons the last 4 years was Killian Hayes knocked him out. That was the best thing Killian Hayes has ever done in the NBA.
That was honestly one of the Killian Hayes doing that was the most uncharacteristic thing I've ever seen from a Piston.
And it was one of the only times I respected him. Gave him the elbow right to the back of the head.
That was insane.
UFC style. Knocked him out. Love it.
I think that was 2 seasons ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the game? I want to ask you about Jalen Duren tonight.
I thought he came out and played really well.
Yeah, I thought first half. Yeah, definitely.
But to Austin's point, he gets so tired so quickly.
He does, yeah.
Like so tired, man. Like what? He's gassed after a 3-minute stretch. And then you've got Stu, who can seem to go all day sprinting up and down the court. It doesn't make sense. Their body compositions are very similar. I don't really get why you get.
Duran's too heavy though.
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to. I mean, that's more for like a nutritionist.
Yeah,
I don't know, potentially, but like Stu just has an unlimited gas tank compared to him, and he just. But yeah, I thought he was really like he came out really good and was setting the tone, and then man, like he fell apart on the glass. Gogo was whooping him big time.
Goga's really good.
He's a really functional.
He's
center,
huge
dude.
as well. How tall is he? He must be over 7 foot. He's massive.
He's big, and he just plays the game so right.
Yeah.
He's everything you wish Jalen Duren could be. He really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was getting whooped on the glass and cheap fouls and key turnovers and in big spots.
Yeah.
Overall, it's definitely not his worst game of the season. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
Definitely not his worst game of the season.
And I don't think he's the reason they lost or anything.
No. I'm not putting this one. I'm not.
No,
he's not even. No, there's so many reasons why they lost this game. I'm not. There's been other games in the season where I've definitely blamed it on Jalen Duren. This is not one of them.
Do you think Actually, no, this is a bad question. I was going to say, do you think Asar makes a difference tonight? But even if he played, he's only going to play like 10 minutes. So
I think he makes a difference.
I would have loved to have seen him on France when he was going off.
I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what this team is missing. They're like you see every game this season, like every game they've lost, what does the other team have? An elite wing.
Yeah.
What in most of those games, what happens? That elite wing goes off. You have no answer.
Franz was hunting Tim Hardaway Jr. as well in the first half.
He was hunting he was hunting everybody.
I know, but he was
Franz was like getting the ball in the post every possession.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I just would have loved to have seen him for 5 minutes on Franz, even if that's all we saw for the night, just to get me excited about some defense.
Speaking of Azar, I think he's going to be used a lot in the creation role for this team. I think he's going to be used a ton as a creator, a secondary creator.
Just someone who can get downhill. I agree.
Not even that he can get downhill. He's an elite passer.
Yeah.
He has elite vision. He's like something like he is by far the second best passer on this team. In terms of vision, making the right reads, all that stuff. It's bar none. Asar is definitely the second best on this team. So I hope JB, when he does come back, especially when he comes back at full strength, and he's playing 25 to 30 minutes a night, using him a lot as a secondary creator. Like if at first he's coming off the bench, whoever's still in the game, if they're staggering Ivy, if they're staggering Cade, get the ball in Asar's hands and let Ivy play off Asar, let Cade play off Asar, even Sasser play off Asar. Like there's a lot of Asar. It cannot be understated how much I think Asar is going to benefit this team.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be so like even if he still can't shoot, you have enough pieces and shooting around him where you can easily construct lineups where he can make a huge impact.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's just like we talk about it every stream, but it feels like every game it's just like it becomes more and more clear at both ends, like you said as well. Like defense, yeah, obviously, but like and rebounding, but like just that someone who can. He's a guy that like I agree with you on the passing and playmaking. Like, he's a guy who can make that quick like connective pass or whatever you call it. Like just like if he's around the elbow and catches it, like he can find like Durant under the rim because he's got some like size and stuff as well. Like there's just all those little things he does just to bring things together as well. Like, yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't really even talked about very much. Do you remember the first 8 or 9 games of last year where it felt like by the end of the first half or the middle of the third quarter, he already had 12 or more rebounds?
Yes, I do remember that very
Like
clearly.
literally, I remember DraftKings, how much money I made because I was slamming Asar over 10 rebounds every game.
Yeah.
And then they finally caught on to it and they made it like ridiculous odds and you could never bet it anymore because it was too juiced. But I remember just first night, slam. I slammed it for like 7 games in a row. Made like $1,500. Like,
because he was a crazy rebounder even at like summer league going back a while, and then they came straight into the league and was just like his stat lines were like he's constantly like over 10 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, like a few blocks and steals. He was insane, and then that kind of fizzled out a little bit, but yeah.
I think it fizzled out once they kind of it kind of like the season got lost more and more.
Yeah.
And I think Monty gave up and just like stopped trying to craft lineups that were beneficial to him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I can't wait for him to be back. If he doesn't play on Monday, I riot.
I hope he's playing. I really do. Like against the Raptors, I mean, I know they're actually been pretty solid recently, like, but you're not going to get it's at home, a game set up for him to return, I feel like.
Well, and the thing is, I get it. Reconditioning. The kid's 20, 21. Like, what are we? I get it. He hasn't played 5-on-5 basketball at an NBA pace in a while. You can play him in 3-minute spurts.
Yeah.
Send him out there. Send him out there at, like, let's say in the first quarter at the under 8. Let him play till the 5-minute mark. Take him back out. Sub in THJ or Tobias, wherever you're playing him. Then maybe it's the start of the second quarter. Another 3 minutes. You can get him 12 minutes just playing him 3 minutes a quarter. Like, that's not. I don't think that's a ridiculous expectation. Now maybe they just know Asar, know that he's so high energy, and maybe they're just like, oh, he's gonna go too hard, and maybe his legs aren't ready, and this and that. But it's like, I don't know, man. I saw him on the bench tonight. He's looking ripped. It's hard to believe he's not ready to go.
The thing is, as well, like during the season, like there's no time to practice anyway. I think they've had one practice since preseason because they've played every second day. So the only practice they've had was when they had a 2-day break. So like I feel like he kind of needs to. It's just probably at the point where you just need to play him now, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you either do that or send him down to the G League where it's less impact.
True.
Like, let him get minutes somewhere because in the G League, he's a man amongst boys down there.
Yeah.
So if you want to get him minutes and just like, back and organize 5-on-5, send him to the G League for a few games. I don't care. He needs to play. Tonight it was so evident how bad he needs to play.
Yeah, 100%.
They're getting killed on the glass.
I mean,
Franz is eating them alive. Like, they have no connective piece in the second unit.
Yeah.
We're not like there was just like Asar can help here, you can help there, you can do this, you can do that.
Well, kind of everything you outlined, like a size, like a playmaking, rebounding, defense. He doesn't fix all of those, but he certainly helps address all of them in some way and makes the Pistons better in all those areas.
Yeah, I mean, no one, like it doesn't matter what NBA roster you're talking about. It's not one player,
Yeah.
Well, maybe Jokic in Denver, but like on very few teams is it just one player. But like Asar, he's going to make this team go so much smoother.
Absolutely. I think him coming back is going to give us all a jolt, just as well as fans, because it's been a rough week and a half, I think, or since whenever that Wizards game was. So I think just seeing him back on the court, I don't care who's playing. I just can't wait to see him on the floor because he's going to give us that excitement. That I think
I can't wait till he has that first roll off like a Cade screen and dunks one. I'll be like, yep, all right, baby, we're back.
That him in transition, but more so, I would have killed to see him just lock up Franz once tonight and just like absolutely make Franz like dribble off his foot out of bounds at half court, just something like, or just swat. Like, I just want to see him lock up some of these wings that have just been giving it to the Pistons.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is like, the Raptors don't have an elite wing. I mean, RJ Barrett's good, but he's not elite. But
Yeah.
I think they play Memphis after that.
The Pistons? I don't even.
Yeah. They
I
play
can tell.
Memphis?
1 second. They play Toronto at home. Then they're back on the road in Memphis. And then they're
Yeah.
back on the road against the Pacers. What the hell? Anyway, but you were
Yeah,
right.
their schedule's brutal. There's no doubt about that. Their schedule's brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, because Memphis doesn't really have elite wings either. They have a collection of wings that can play.
Yeah.
And the Pacers, it would help to have like a Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nemhart, or maybe you just throw him on Tyrese, even though Tyrese has been awful this year. But like, yeah, we need him back badly.
Definitely. Probably got another 5 minutes here before I got to go, but anything else from this game? I'm also just want to hear your overall thoughts on the upcoming week, to be honest, unless you have anything else.
No. I think this upcoming week depends on what's the status with Cade.
Yeah.
If he's out the entire week, be lucky to go 1-2.
So there's 4 games this week. I'll relay it to you. So they play Toronto Tuesday, days rest, then they travel to Memphis, days rest. Then they play at Indiana, which I think is a cup game. And then they play Philly at home on a back-to-back on Sunday.
A Saturday, you mean? I think it's Saturday, right?
Sorry. I'm looking at Australian time zone. Yes.
Yeah. So if there's no Cade, you'll be lucky to go 2-2.
Yeah. I think 2-2 is what you want minimum after this week as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2-2. You come out of the week 9-13, especially if Cade's back after that. I mean, you're fine overall. I mean, just start off the week good against Toronto, and then just try to steal one of the next 3.
Yeah.
That would be my goal. And they're not releasing much on Cade, just that he's sore. I mean, if he doesn't play on Monday, that means he would have almost a full week.
I was just going to say almost a week, yeah.
But maybe at that point, if you beat Toronto, do you just say, hey, rest him in Memphis and then get him back for the Cup game, knowing that the Cup game is important overall to the team?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's tricky.
Because even with Cade, are you really beating Memphis on the road?
I can't. When was the last time they won there? I don't even know.
Like the way Memphis is like scoring the ball right now. Like, can you score enough points even with Cade to beat them?
Yeah.
I mean, it dropped like 140 some points tonight. Granted, it's the Bulls. The Bulls are terrible defensively, but like,
yeah,
are you going to be able to score 115 with Cade, 120? I mean, granted, the Memphis' defense is pretty loose as well, but I don't know. I think it'll depend a lot on what happens in the Toronto game.
Yeah, I think that Toronto game's massive. And like every game I feel like I'm saying is a must win, but I feel like this one's huge. You've lost 3 in a row. This is your game just to get the confidence back in the sense of like, because if you lose this, that's 4 in a row, then you're just mentioning you travel to Memphis, you travel to Indiana. Like you don't want this getting. I think we spoke a couple of weeks ago about like what you think's the biggest losing streak for this team. And I know I said 4 games. I think you said 4 or 5.
I said 5.
I would be getting, if they lose to Toronto, I'd be getting real worried that this could get to 6 in a row.
If they lose to Toronto, this could get to 10.
I haven't looked
serious.
that far ahead. No, I'm sure. Yeah, I believe you. I just.
I think after that stretch, they have to play like the Bucks or somewhere in there on like a Tuesday for the Cup.
Yeah,
and then you head straight into the December schedule.
Yeah, they just beat Toronto.
Beat Toronto.
I don't want to go too far down that path.
Steal another one this week. Hopefully, it's the Pacers game. You can live with losing to Memphis, depending on what drama happens in Philly this next week. Yeah. Maybe they're completely crumbling. I mean, I know they won yesterday, but they played Brooklyn. Brooklyn's no good either. Yeah. So it's like maybe maybe you could find a way if you play really good basketball to go 3-1. 2-2 would be if they beat the Raptors and the Pacers. I feel really good about the week.
Same. Yeah. 2-2, and I'm feeling good. Even if the record, like I think you said, it's 9-13, I'm still feeling good. Just don't be 8-14 or.
No, obviously the worst case scenario is Cade doesn't play this week and they go 0-4, and then you're looking at 7-15.
Yeah, that
And then
doesn't.
and at that point, you know what you're saying?
Ace
Punt.
Bailey.
Punt. Punt. You're done.
We're not going there.
No, I'm just saying.
I know why you're saying it. I'm just saying.
Trust me. I hope it doesn't happen because I've had a lot of fun watching this team through this first 18 games. But if it gets to 7-15, like you're in real trouble.
I agree, but I will say I gotta. If we're talking and they're 7-15 in a week and a half or whatever that is, I'll just be looking at that Magic team from 2 years ago. What did they start? Like 3-23, turned it all around, and it still look good in the second half.
Yeah, I mean
that's gonna be that's what I'll be clinging to. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. That's just where I'll be. So my head will be.
Yeah, I mean, and
I think we're so used to. Sorry to cut you off. I think we're so used to like this team a month and a half in the season, it being over. Whereas I still have some belief that this team in the second half of the year can still be like fun. And I want that to be the case. I don't want to be in the bottom three cheering for losses.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a terrible feeling. I think the nice thing is if even if you win one game this week, you're still on pace for roughly 28 wins.
That's true. Yeah.
So like it's not all like again, if this team found a way to win 35 games, everybody should be pumped.
Yeah.
Like I'm not moving off my 28-30 yet. I think obviously if we come to find out more about Cade and they're doing the classic Pistons move where they know fans are coming to see Cade and they're not talking about injuries because like that's such a Tom Gore's move. Like, oh, we're being kind of hush-hush or not 100% transparent about injuries to sell tickets to home games. And Cade's out for a long time. Like, dude, the wheels will fall off. And then you're going to get...
Yeah.
Then you're going to get the crowd that's saying Cade's injury prone. Why do we pay him? And you're going to get... It's going to get nasty, bro.
I don't think he's going to be out for that long. I think there is a chance we don't see him this week, but I think he's back by the Pacers game. Just a guess, just a gut feel. Obviously,
yeah, I mean,
nothing, but I think he's back by the Pacers game, maybe earlier.
I mean, that's the hope. My hope is he's back on Monday. Like,
yeah, I hope
he was in good spirits on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my hope, but like at the same time, I guess I just don't trust this team with injury reporting and like.
Yeah.
How are you going to tell me Bobby Clintman has a calf bruise and he's been out for the first 18 games?
Yeah, I think we had a question about that in here somewhere.
So where do you put him in the lineup? I think.
Yeah, that's a real strange. I think JB did give an update on that.
They said his calf was super swollen and they couldn't get swelling down.
Yeah.
Which
is that? Yeah,
seems extremely weird to me that you can't get the swelling down on a calf bruise.
It's because we have not
for over a month. Like it's not like this has been a 4-day injury. It's been a month.
I mean, the thing is that like we've seen. I feel like if Bobby's healthy, he's probably taking some of those Moore's minutes that we've seen. I feel like.
Well, he's playing for sure.
So I mean, it's disappointing because we definitely would have seen him play. I didn't think he'd be a part of the rotation preseason, but now based on what we've seen, he would have actually gotten some decent burn. So
dude,
hopefully he can get back soon.
The thing about Bobby is he's very big. He shoots it very well. He's an underrated passer. He's not going to be good on defense, but 80% of this roster is not good on defense. So who cares?
Yeah, he's passing, especially like the shooting, yes, 100%, but the passing as well. Like that would help heaps at the 4.
Yeah, I think if he would, I don't think he would have been like in the rotation.
Yeah,
But I think he would have been getting spot minutes from day one if he was healthy.
definitely. I agree. Definitely
Like,
from what we've seen.
I think he would. I mean, I think he would be stealing some of Ron's minutes in these games where Ron comes in and plays like he's never seen a basketball before. Which he did
Yeah,
tonight. I was so pissed at Ron. Oh my god, was I pissed at Ron?
yeah, the tunnel vision and some of the decision
Dude,
making.
like,
Just,
oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna. You know what's a good idea? We just cut the game to 8. I'm gonna dribble right into Jonathan Isaac's chest. He won't
Was that
pick
when
me.
he went for the dunk?
No, the freaking jumping from almost the free throw line and dunking was only one of the 5 dumb plays he made tonight. But the 2 straight possessions, basically, where he dribbled the ball straight into Jonathan Isaac's chest. And you know what Jonathan Isaac did with his 7'4" wingspan? Picked it, turnover, dunk, picked it, turnover, dunk. They're back down by 12, and I'm wondering why is he even on the floor?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, JB, to keep him out there because I thought it was kind of at the point where maybe you just want to save Ron from himself and just get him out. He needs a breather, let him reset. But yeah,
And that's the thing. I don't not expect it because he's a rookie and he's trying to make plays.
yeah,
But like that's the problem with Ron. He can only play one way. He's not seasoned. He's a rookie. Like he is going to try to make plays if you put him out there.
it's tough because I've been against him putting him in the G League, but the more I watch, I must admit my mind's starting to change a little bit. Just like tonight, I think might have been his game he struggled the most. But
yeah, he was brutal tonight. I'm sticking. Yeah, I'm sticking to what I said. Like 4 or 5 streams ago. As soon as Cesar's healthy to play enough minutes, Ron Holland to the G League, up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm coming around to that. I was pretty strong on my stance that he doesn't need it, but I think like just some of the turnovers that we're seeing, they're tough, and I feel like he needs to go grow.
He's got a ton of work to do. His handles need to get way better. He needs to find a way to make shots.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much he needs to work. I love his energy still. I love the way he plays defense, but he's got a lot to work on. And like I said, with once Asar can come back and play minutes, where does he get minutes? Where does he get burned?
Yeah.
There's no room.
I agree. I think like it's spot minutes at best. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, Cody, but I want you to finish on a positive for me. You didn't open with 3 positives.
My 3 positives tonight: Marcus Sasser, Wendell Moore, Alondas Williams.
Love it.
I thought Alondas Williams. I thought it was just obviously in a game that's that bad overall. That was a cool moment for him to come and stroke that 3 and then make a sick crossover to the leg.
That was nice. Yeah.
He could actually be a guy that, I mean, I know nothing about what he's done in the G League so far. I know the Crews have been successful this season so far, but he's got a little something.
No, he was nice. Like you said, it's end of the game, but it looked like legit. So
yeah, I mean, I the real reason why I put him up there is I couldn't come up with a third positive outside of Sasser and Wendell Moore. So
maybe
And also, for everyone in the chat, just know for the most part that if I say Sasser or Wendell Moore my 3 positives, the Pistons lost.
Yeah, that's fair.
The Pistons lost for sure. I guess Malik Beasley could have been because Malik wasn't great, but he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, he got hunted on defense a lot, but
him and
it's kind of what's going to happen to him whenever you have a team that big.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well, actually, I think I want to bring this one comment up. Someone in here, Mr. Jones, says Cody has a good voice for this. So there you go. I haven't seen that compliment for you before.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's funny? When I was younger, I wanted to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And my grandpa would always say, "You have the face and voice for radio." And we would always laugh about that. I mean, I've always kind of wanted to do something like this. So, I mean, I appreciate the compliment.
Absolutely. And YouTube user said, "Thanks for changing your angle, Cody. Much appreciated." I think that was about Jalen Duren having a good first half.
Yeah, no, I just to make it abundantly clear, I don't want to come on here and crap on him unless it's warranted. Like, I love this team more than anything. I want JD to play well. But I'm just through the first 17 games. I mean, he didn't play 2, so 15 games. There wasn't a lot I loved, to be completely honest. So, I thought tonight he had his moments where he played positive basketball.
Love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining, for waiting till the end. Appreciate it as always, my brother. And
always willing, man.
Can't wait to have you back up whenever you're free next. But
Monday after win. Monday after win.
Yeah, Monday after a win. Let's do it.
Monday
I want to
after
talk
win.
about a win. All right, man. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Have a good night,
All right.
Jack.
You too, man. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. I'm just gonna check through some of the comments here. Sorry, I didn't go through these just with the few guests on tonight. Makes it a bit more tricky, but appreciate you all being so active in here. Just the usuals. Drake M. Considering Duran's physical prime could legit take another 4 to 5 years, puts him at 25 or 26 for that, but potential is still sky high. What's the best plan for him? A great question. I wish I had brought this up when I had a guest. I mean, I'm at this point where I think honestly, bringing him off the bench could benefit him tremendously. I thought his energy was good tonight in the first half, and he made some nice plays. Honestly, he made some nice plays at the end of the Charlotte game, but I don't know. I just maybe bringing him off the bench might help him. He can play more minutes against other teams' backups. Use his physicality a bit more there when he's going against lesser players. I just think maybe that could help him and take the pressure off him a little bit, because there's so much pressure on him to, against starting units, to be that defensive anchor, and he's still clearly trying to figure out that end of the court. But I agree, the potential is sky high, and that's why we get so frustrated. And probably, honestly, I mean, I think maybe I've been a bit unfair on him at times this season, but I think honestly, most of it's been warranted, because he has that potential and he is so young. But yeah, I think tonight, you don't bench him after tonight's game. I'm not suggesting that, but I think maybe at some point this season, if he still struggles and you're 30 games in, a move there might help him regain some confidence. But yeah, that would be what I would do. I'm sure a lot of people will have other plans. Bit of chatter in here about Brandon Ingram, which we covered. I do agree with this YouTube user. If Trajan was interested in BR, he would have been here this summer. I think obviously he probably could have made a deal for sure. But I mean, actually, Cody here says Trajan did need to see the roster. So I think it's a bit of both. I think Trajan probably didn't. It was such a rush for him trying to hire a coach, draft a player, sign some free agents all in a crazy short amount of time. I think maybe it just would have been a lot for him to then also make a trade for another franchise piece and sign someone to a huge deal. I think there was just so many moving parts for him coming into this job in such a short amount of time that, he probably just wanted to see the roster, like Cody said. But I mean, Trajan worked at the Pelicans, so he knows probably the most of anyone about Brandon Ingram, who he is as a person, his play style, his injury history. So, I mean, it should give us confidence that if the Pistons do trade for him, that Trajan's well informed. Mr. Jones loves Sassa, but let's trade him. See, I don't really understand that line of thinking. So Mr. Jones kind of backs it up here. Sassa has no role. I think he has a role. I think he's shown he has a role with this team as it currently is. With the lack of ball handling, I tweeted it after the game. I think JB should really try and find him some minutes, because he's been productive every time he plays. I think for a team that has struggled to handle the ball and manage turnovers, Sassa just coming in and being a guy you can rely on not to dribble it off his foot or have some of these crazy turnovers is a positive. And I think his shot creation helps Ivy and Cade as well when he's next to them. So, I disagree, but I can see why you think that at least. Derek, shout out to Derek as always. Has anybody seen Fontecchio smile once this year? He looks miserable. I think I've seen him smile a few times, but yeah, he does look down a bit more. But I'm going to keep an eye on that. Just scanning through some more here. Do we really need to win more than 30 games? No, but I think they need to win based on what we've seen so far, I think this team should be trying to win 28 games minimum. So I think like anything below that would have to be because of injury or some unforeseen things that they just can't control. So basically injuries. Otherwise, I don't know. If they win like 20 games, I'm just not sure that's good for the development. It's just my opinion, because I think that would mean they've played severely under their capabilities. Like I mentioned, if there's an injury, then yeah, it changes. But I think from what we've seen, they can win 28 games or more. Some other comments, just scanning. So Quinn says, when Bobby comes back, where do we put him in the lineup? He's our tallest player, can shoot and pass well. Is he a 4-3 stretch 5? I don't think Bobby's the tallest player. He might be the tallest wing. I think he's a true 4. I think he probably doesn't have the athleticism to be a 3, but I think his size makes him a 4. And I think he can be, obviously he can shoot and pass, like you mentioned. I think he's honestly a true 4. And he said he models his game after Tobias Harris. That was pre-draft, before the Pistons even had Tobias. So I think that's kind of the ceiling for him as a player, which is a very useful player, especially Tobias back in his prime. Very useful player. I think that's going to do it, guys, because I've all these other comments here. Yeah, I think we're done, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Unfortunately, another loss. That's 3 in a row. I haven't looked at the standings, but the Pistons are probably fallen from 7th now. So still, it's got the 7 wins. I think a win against the Raptors will help us all tomorrow feel a bit, on Monday will help us all feel a bit better about the team. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back after the Raptors game. And as always, go Pistons.